Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirits. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for tuning in for another very interesting deep dive episode. As in this week's episode, we're going to be discussing the topic of the rejuvenation of self. Also in this week's episode, we have the channeling from the world of spirit, which sees myself becoming a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdoms and communications forward. And then later on in this episode, we have a sneaky peek into this week's energy forecast reading. So let's set the scene. We're going to be talking about the rejuvenation of self today. And I felt, along with my guides, that this was a very prominent topic that needed to be discussed, particularly as we're entering the beginning of March 2026, where spring is coming in and everything starts to change. It felt very, very, I would say, appropriate to be talking about this subject matter. Again, the rejuvenation of self. So let's dive into this subject, shall we? First of all, let's talk about resisting the temptation to stay stagnant. Now, we've all been through this. Some of us go through this on a regular basis. I'll hold my hands up to this, being a fellow Capricorn. We like things nice, in order. We get used to routines, and so it's very appropriate and important that not just Capricorns, but everybody resists the temptation to stay stagnant, despite if it's comfortable and if it's nice and, I don't want to do it, because let's face it, everything changes, everything is expanding, everything is growing, everything has to move forward. That's just life. That's how life works. And so it's getting out of that old habit of, like I say, resisting change. You're restricting yourself. You're stopping yourself from being a better version of you by doing that. And in many respects, when you operate from this, shall we say, perspective, you'll find yourself repeating old habits or belief systems, learning the same lesson in life over and over again, simply because you're standing in your own way. So those of you that are aligning with what I'm saying with this, maybe now is the time, and this is your, shall we call it, your sign to start and change the old ways of thinking. Another thing I'd like to share with this process is reminding yourself that you are worthy and deserving. Now, I know this sounds very obvious, doesn't it, to most of us? And I've got to say, again, I'm going to hold my hands up with this one, because I do need to remind myself now and again. And I dare say those of you that are listening to this that are similar to myself, and you like to help others, you like to lift other people's energy, their spirits, you're kind, you're loving, and you forget about yourself and you put yourself on the shelf, shall we say, and you say to yourself internally, I'll do that later, but for now, it's important that these people feel good. And that is an absolutely beautiful trait to have. However, I must remind you that if you're not firing on all cylinders, and if you're not looking after yourself properly, then how can you be expected to help, care, and inspire others to the level and degree that you're wanting to do if you're not maintaining that appreciation of self? And a way of doing this is reminding yourself, like I say, that you are worthy and deserving. And that could be anything. I'm not just talking about materialistic items when I say this. I'm talking about, let's go there. Love, affection, romance, cuddles, compliments, people noticing you and complimenting you. And, it's accepting those compliments. You are worthy and deserving of hearing that back. So even if it makes you feel uncomfortable and triggered when you hear a compliment or somebody says, I love you, they really mean it, then you are to ride that storm, so to speak, that emotional storm, that trigger, and start and accept, excuse me, sorry about that, and start and accept these new vibrations into your life. As I say, we all change, life flows, life expands, and if you're just going to stay still and stagnant in that old ways of being, then life's going to be rather uncomfortable for you in that perspective. So it's very important that you do remind yourself that you are worthy and you are deserving. Even if it triggers you, it's now time to put the big girl or big boy pants on and start living your best life, particularly as we are entering springtime in 2026. I'd also like to add to that respecting and implementing your true authenticity in every single moment. And what I mean by this statement is the fact that a lot of us, let's face it, I'm going to be worn out at this rate, keep putting my hand up to these conversation topics. But moving on point, a lot of us have felt safe, felt comfortable in fitting in with others. We don't like the finger pointing at us. We don't like the jokes. We don't like the ridicule. And so with that being said, we keep ourselves small. We keep ourselves hidden, and we just blend into the background. And I get it. I understand why people do that. I'm not judging anybody for behaving that way. However, I am calling you out and that type of behavior by saying this, because let's face it, we are all individuals. We've all come here for a specific purpose and a specific reason here on planet Earth. And if we were all to mimic, copy, and behave the same, think the same, do things the same, then, what was the point of you coming down here to have that unique experience and bring your unique vibrations, your unique talents, gifts and abilities and opinions and thought patterns and vibration? What is the point if you're not open, willing, and acceptant of it? So I'm here to remind you that your quirks, the way that you think, the way that you behave, maybe you have some strange, peculiar, again, it's down to perception, mannerisms, you behave slightly differently. Maybe your voice is different. Maybe the way that you walk is different. Maybe it's the way that you choose how to behave in society. And this is one of my favorite ones. Maybe it's the way that you decide to show up in the world, the way that you do your hair, do your makeup, the clothes that you choose makes you, that individual choice. And this has always interested me, and I'm going slightly off topic, but I've always been fascinated how people think and what led a person to make a decision. Why did they decide to wear that coat today? Why did they choose to wear those shoes or trainers today? What possessed them to do their hair in that certain way? And I'm not saying this to judge people, but I find it fascinating how people align with those thoughts and those feelings, and they bring those thoughts and feelings into action by making that choice, by wearing that item of clothing, and by deciding to behave a certain way. I find that fascinating. To me, that is spirit, that is the creator, God source, if you will, working through you as a vessel, as an individual, bringing that uniqueness into this dimension. So I find that incredibly fascinating. And again, the reason I'm bringing this up is to snap you out of that robotic way of being, of life, because we've all been in there, particularly if you are working in a job and career where you have to wear a uniform, which is the same as somebody else that you're working with, and you're given specific rules and jobs and things and rules and regulations to follow in order to do that job. Which I get it, I understand. You're representing a company, an organization, so they want it slick, they want it smooth, and they want it professional. So I get that, but that doesn't necessarily make you a robot or a slave to that organization. You are still you are still authentic. So I'm encouraging you not to hide that element of yourself away anymore. It's now time to just allow yourself to express those thoughts, those emotions, those feelings that perhaps you've kept within you for quite some time, for fear of what other people may think, for fear of that judgment. It's now time to forget about that and start living your best life as we move into spring of 2026. I've also got to talk about with this another offshoot of this conversation piece, and that is the respect and dedication to physical fitness. Now, as you can appreciate, you've probably heard this saying mentioned many, many times before. We are a spirit in a physical body, and we're living from the perspective of spirit in the vessel of a physical body. However, to experience our best version of self in this dimension on planet Earth, we need to look after that physical body because it houses our soul, and we want it to be performing at its optimum. And to enable us to do that, we have to show this level of respect and, let's face it, dedication in order to be thriving in our physical body. So I'm talking about all aspects of fitness here. First of all, I'm talking, let's go there, the mind. And as many people have said, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. We're more intelligent, we're more powerful than we ever believed we were. So it's looking after that element within yourself. It's managing and also expressing your emotions rather than keeping them stifled up. It's also talking about your physicality, your physical health, movement, flow. And your physical health could be something as simple. I say simple. I do this every single week, cardiovascular work. So it's where we allow our blood to flow, our heart to increase slightly, and also to have that mindfulness with our breathing and complementing all those elements together. Now, I'm not suggesting that you copy me and do exactly the same as me. You will find your own way in order to keep your physical fitness at its optimum. But, for example, just doing regular walks, maybe out in nature or around where you live, maybe 10 or 15 to 20 minutes, whenever you feel the inclination to do it throughout the course of your week, go and do it. Swimming, as you've probably heard me say before, in my opinion, is a one-stop shop. I say that, but I haven't been for a while. But it is. Let's face it, when we're swimming, we're getting that cardiovascular work there with the blood flow and the circulation and the oxygen levels. We're getting that movement of all of our muscle groups in our physical body. We're also being supported by the water as well. And also the water forms a form of resistance. So it helps to shape and tone the muscles in the physical body. And also water is very calming, isn't it? It's very relaxing. And just being in it puts you in that state. So it puts you in a meditative state as well. It relaxes you as well. And of course, there's the sounds and the textures and the feeling of water that forms that healing bond throughout the process of swimming. I've also got to say, excuse me, is with swimming, there's that sort of meditative state that you go in when, particularly if you're doing lane swimming, and you switch your brain off of all of those busy thoughts as you're focusing in on what number length you have just swam, and you're keeping your focus upon that. It's a one-stop shop, as I say, but there's other modalities that can help with this. Another one-stop shop is yoga. That is fascinating because you're getting all of that stretches, that endurance. You're getting that calmness of the mind, body, and spirit. You're getting the breathing, the cardiovascular. You're also getting that meditative state there as well. And you're slowing down the pace of life and stretching and holding those positions and those muscles there. So to me, that is a one-stop shop for the physical body. Myself personally, what I do, as I've probably mentioned before on episodes, I do running, I do cross-training, I do the stepping machine. I also do circuit training with the weights, where I train every single muscle group in the physical body, and I do it at speed with moderate weights and high repetitions. I'm keeping that energy flowing, and I'm keeping the workouts as tight as I can, and so that I'm constantly moving. I'm not one of these people that sit and wait after every rep. No, I get on and I do the next apparatus. I keep that blood flowing and that breathing going. And that I find helps my physical vessel. But it's nothing that anybody's told me or taught me to do that. It's what I feel my body needs. And if anything, advice I could give you is listen to your physical body. It will let you know what it wants, what it needs in order to get its exercise and to keep it rejuvenated at its optimum state. Also, with this being the case, it will also let you know of what food sources that you require at any one given moment in time. And so listen to it and, notice how your body reacts. Because let's face it, we've all been there, myself included, again, my hands up in the air as I'm saying this, where we have an anchoring, if that's the right term, for various naughty foods such as chocolate and, junk food, as it is commonly known as. And, we all feel that anchoring for that. And we just follow that. We consume that food, and then afterwards, this is where you have to pay attention, how your body feels afterwards. Now, I've noticed with various foods that my mind enjoys, my body doesn't like so much, and it rejects it in the obvious forms that it does, and it makes me feel uncomfortable as that food is being processed within me. So it pays you to pay attention how your body is reacting with foods, and to adjust your diet and your food and drink consumption to that feels comfortable and the best for your body. So do watch out for that. I'd like to encourage you as well to allow yourself to go with the flow. And what I'm talking about, I'm not saying that you don't have an opinion and you say, oh, whatever, I'll do whatever. No, I'm talking about for you to focus in and observe that magnetic, high vibrational feeling that we all get from time to time in our solar plexus, or in other terms, in our gut. We feel it. We feel that calling. We feel that pull. We don't know why we know. We don't know how we know we've got to do something, or where we've got to be, or who we've got to see. We don't know why, but we feel it. And it becomes, when we're aware of that feeling and we give it more of our time and attention, becomes more obvious that we cannot ignore it any longer. So to me, that is my definition of going with the flow. It is not just like not making a decision. It is actually being focused in on those feelings, that magnetic calling in your gut instinct. So you've made a decision to put your focus in on that, and you're just going to allow that to pull you in the right direction. So I want to encourage you. Again, it's encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and to allow yourself to be pulled, governed by your higher self, that beautiful energy of the universe, to live in your highest vibration. To enable you to do this, there may be a few energetic blocks along the way that stops that flow. And I'm going to address that now with you. And this could be maybe a past version of yourself that behaved in a certain way, or thought certain thoughts, or even had certain emotions. And that is keeping you stuck. It's stopping you from getting into that flow state, that higher vibration. So to enable you to get into that higher vibration, that flow state that we're talking about, you need to learn to forgive that past version of yourself. Now, whatever perception you have of that experience, or the way that you behave, the thoughts or the emotions that you experience, is irrelevant. I feel the most important thing is to allow those thoughts, those beliefs, those feelings, those scenarios to come up into your current reality, into your present moment, and address it as if it was a living person. And have a conversation with it in your mind, that old version of yourself, and say something along these lines. Thank you so much for those experiences, those thoughts, those feelings. I really appreciated them. They've helped me and shaped me into the version that I am now. But at this juncture in my life, from my perspective, I now understand that it is this situation and my continued focus upon them that's keeping me stuck and stagnant in my vibration. So with this being the case, I'd like to thank you for the lessons, the blessings, and the healings that you've provided me with. But now I'd like to let you go. It is now time for you to leave my vibration so that space can be created for me to flow with ease and grace into my destiny. You don't have to say that word for word, but I'm just giving you an example how I would have that internal conversation with the old versions of myself. And I would do it respectfully, as you've heard, with love. And I do it with kindness as well. Because if we were to do that with, I don't like this, with aggression, with anger, with frustration, it's going to keep us there. It's going to keep us locked into that blockage in our life. So we have to be very mindful of the way that we communicate with the old version of ourselves internally. Treat it with love and respect, and you'll get that back in abundance. I want to also say, now this is very important, and a lot of you listening to this have either gone through this experience or currently going through it, or are having this issue go round and round in circles in your life. So what I'm talking about is allow yourself to be open and acceptant of the gift of love in your heart. Now, that's easier said than done. I recognize that. I realize that. But what I'm talking about with this is, let's face it, we've all been hurt emotionally, whether this has been by family members, friends, or even in a relationship, a romantic relationship, where our heart has been injured. It's been wounded to such a degree that we've been very negative about love and receiving and giving love. And so we've blocked ourselves off in many respects. And we're not allowing ourselves to flow, to flourish and grow in our lives. Again, going back to what we said earlier, we're remaining stagnant and still. And as we're moving into spring of 2026, I would like you all to experience the best version of yourself. So by addressing these things and by pointing them out to you, hopefully it's going to give you the tools that you need to move forward with ease and grace. So accepting the gift of love in your heart is, again, releasing any old blocks, showing them the respect, having a conversation with them, and allowing yourself to actually start feeling again. It's so easy, isn't it, to be in our mind, in our head, and say, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not going to be in a relationship. I'm not doing this. I'm not making friends with those people. It is so easy to be that way. And what I'm suggesting to you is actually, for a moment, give that internal dialogue a rest by putting it on pause and putting your focus and your attention on how things feel in your heart. And when you get into that feeling tone in life, you'll be surprised, as it will tell you a completely different story to what your mind is convincing you is the truth. Because your heart will then begin to, its natural state is love. It feels love, it communicates love, it expresses love, it receives love. And when you start focusing in on your heart and moving out of your own way and feeling those feelings, let's face it, some of the feelings we feel in our heart, there are no words to express or describe how we feel. All we know, the nearest that we can use, is that it makes us feel good. It makes us feel happy. We feel alive. We feel expansive. We feel open. We feel like we're in the flow of life. So maybe consider doing that and putting the mind on pause and just observing how you're feeling in your heart, because the heart is an amazing communicator, and it will tell you and govern you on which direction to move in your life. It will also use the path of least resistance. And there's a phrase that's been mentioned many, many times, and I feel as though that it is a very true statement. And this is, there are only two major choices in your life that you can choose. One of them is, do you choose love? And the other one is, do you choose fear? As an exercise and to help you move into your highest vibration, I'd like to encourage you to get a sheet of A4 paper, write a line down the middle and a heading on the top. In the left-hand column, write fear. In the right-hand column at the top, write love. And I want you to review your life from the perspective of, okay, I've got this situation in my life. How am I experiencing that situation? How am I feeling it? How am I thinking about that situation? Be honest with yourself and write it in one of those columns where you think that it should go. Are you operating and making choices from the vibration of love? And remembering that love flows, love says yes, and love goes to the path of least resistance. Where fear, that's where the blocks come in. That's where we say no. That's where we question. That's where we feel aggravated. This is where we feel frustrated, stagnant, stuck, treading water, whatever term you want to use. So it's a great way, if you are feeling a little bit frustrated in your life, to use this little exercise that I'm describing to you to get you out of that stuck energy and to start and help you to perceive life differently. And using the tool of the heart will help you to govern that way and to get you back in the flow. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Something else that I think is very important when we're rejuvenating ourselves, and this is to celebrate your mini victories. Mini victories, I hear you cry. What is he talking about? It can be anything. So I'm talking about, for some people, a mini victory is to get out of bed in the morning. You know, maybe they've struggled for days and they say, right, I'm going to get up at 8 o'clock. And they don't. They get up at 1 in the afternoon. So a mini victory would be setting your alarm and getting up at that time. And when you've achieved that victory, celebrating it and saying, yes, that's brilliant. I did it. I did what I set out to do. And so it could be anything in your life that maybe you've been putting off, or maybe you do every single day and you've taken it for granted. Again, getting up, going to work. Sometimes we don't feel like doing it, but we've done it. We've showed up. We've done it. We've made that sacred honor, and we've turned up at work there, and we're following through with our obligations. That is a victory. You're winning. You're winning at life doing that. So I want you to celebrate these little wins by just recognizing them, giving yourself a pat on the back, putting your hand up in the air and doing a whoop, whoop. Let's face it, that makes you feel good. It makes you feel better, and it moves you into a higher vibration. Something else that encourages this higher vibration and allows you to stay in this beautiful, positive, loving, flowing vibration is treating yourself to something special and saying yes to you. Now, this could be anything. It could be treating yourself to something in the materialistic world that perhaps you've had your eye on for quite some time, like, I don't know, for example, a new pair of trainers, the record or album you want, a dress, some flowers, some chocolates, whatever it is that you've been denying yourself for whatever reason. I haven't got the funds, I'm saving up for this, I'll get that another time. Maybe you don't feel worthy or deserving of it. And so I feel to get you in the flow every now and again, I'm not saying this to bankrupt yourself or put yourself in debt, but every now and again, a little bit of what you fancy doesn't do you any harm at all. It keeps you in that vibrational state of high vibrational energy. It gets you into that manifestation state as well, where whatever you're purchasing, whatever you're wanting or desiring, when you treat yourself and allow yourself to receive that, giving that gift back to yourself there, it's going to send out an energetic, a vibrational signal out into the ether, out into the universe. Where a simple example, if you were to buy something and you were feeling guilty about parting with that money in order to buy that item or whatever, then I would say when you get into that flow state, that money, that finance that you've spent on that item will flow back into your experience. It will boomerang back into your life. That's because you've heightened your vibration. That's because you've moved and you've treated yourself. You've told yourself that you are worthy, you're deserving, and you've got into that new vibration rather than staying stagnant and stuck in the vibration of, I can't have that, I haven't got the money, can't do it, haven't got the time, can't meet that person, don't know. Instead of saying no, every now and again, it's important that you do treat yourself something special that aligns with you. And obviously I've said it a few times already, but with a new season, springtime, as we're all aware, we're all feeling it, the weather changes, which instantly, when we start to see a little bit of sun, particularly if you're here in the UK, it has been grey, rainy, snowy, windy, cold for months on end. And so when that snow and when the sun and that temperature changes, it puts us in that feel-good factor, doesn't it? And when we're feeling good about ourselves, this is where our life begins to change. This is where we make more positive choices. This is where we stop hiding ourselves away. This is where that true, authentic side of ourselves comes to the foreground. People can experience us at our best. And with being in that vibration, new exciting opportunities will find you. You won't have to go pushing, striving, chasing anymore. You're simply maintaining your vibration and hanging on and chasing. I say chasing, that's probably the wrong term, but you're following that magnetic calling into that higher vibrational consciousness. And it's a beautiful feeling, isn't it, when we're doing this? So I want to encourage you all, not just this season, but every single season, to be present And when I say be present, I'm talking about being here now, not thinking about elements in your past, not worrying about bills and how you're going to do this, not projecting your thoughts into the future, but observing your experience now as it happens live, your emotions, your thoughts, your physical feelings, what you're seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, all of that pulls you into your present moment. And so I'd like to encourage you more to be more present, because let's face it, we're all sort of manipulated, encouraged in whatever shape or form through lots of distractions, whether this is the news, the TV, the radio, music, films, gaming, sports, concerts, whatever it is. All of these things, as entertaining as they are, in some elements to them, there is an element of distraction. It's stopping us from being present within our physicality and observing our experience of it. So I'm just reminding you to come back into your present moment state and observe the miracle of life. You have come here for a specific purpose, a specific reason. We're all individually doing those, and we're creating a life that feels in alignment with our soul path. And what I'm encouraging you to do today is actually to get into that flow state of life once more, to stop resisting these changes, stop telling yourself all of this nonsense in the back of your mind. I'm talking about today removing and blessing and thanking and forgiving some of the past versions of yourself, because it's only when you do that that your life begins to flow. And when it does flow, it will move effortlessly from one opportunity into the next. And I want to say that a lot of you that have experienced this and maybe have gotten out of the flow state of this vibration, then this conversation piece has been for you to remind you that you are worthy, that you are deserving, and it's now time to get back into that beautiful lane of abundance where you can thrive in life rather than be in survival and fear mode. Because if we're all honest with ourselves, not just people in the UK, but globally, there's been lots going on with the money situation, with the cost of living, with everything going up. And we can talk very negative about those experiences. But in many respects, I believe that this is giving us the gift of contrast at any one given moment. So even though we see it as an unpleasant experience, we have the ability, again, if you remember what I said earlier, to respond with either love or with fear. So what love would do in this situation, it would say, okay, yeah, I am not particularly fond of this situation. However, I'm very grateful for the teachings. I would like this instead. I would like to experience this instead of that. And so we're choosing a higher alternative lifestyle. And so, yeah, I'm just encouraging you to maybe get back into your true authenticity. And if you remember the exercise I gave you with my guides, put that into practice where you can see, it's like a barometer of your life. You can see where you're at vibrationally, energetically, emotionally. Are you coming from a perspective of love, or are you coming from a perspective of fear? And that exercise will make it very clear to you on paper in black and white where you need to be putting your time and attention and where you need to be ignoring those distractions that are pulling you off your highest potential. So I hope you find this conversation interesting, and I hope that it's putting you in the vibration of spring mode so that you can spring forward and you can live the best version of yourself yet. So how's everybody doing? We're all feeling these new energies and vibrations coming into play. I know I've certainly been feeling the momentum of them coming in over, I would say, mid-February, and it's been building up. And actually over these past few weekends, it reached a bit of a crescendo where some of the old ways of being were no longer acceptable in mine and my family's experience. So things are changing for the better. I just wanted to put that out there and ask you the question, if you haven't asked yourself already, how's life looking for you? Have you noticed these energetic changes, the decisions that you've had to make, and maybe relinquishing some of these old belief systems that you've clung onto for quite some time? Interesting, isn't it, when we're reminded of this and we're not distracted by life itself, when we can internalize our experience and just observe it for what it is. We can see so many hidden blessings and lessons in the situation. I know I certainly can, and I'm very excited and looking forward to this expansion energetically of this year as we move into March, as we have moved into March. It's gone so very quick, hasn't it, this year already? Anyway, let's move on to the next segment of the show, which is this week's channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdom and communications forward. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful wisdoms and information from the world of spirit.
Hello everybody, we would like to talk about happiness today and tell you how to keep yourself happy and all fun and smiling all the time. It's harder than what you first originally thought when you do this, because there's lots of funny vibrations around you and you like swimming in them all the time. But what we mean is, I'll get to the point, to keep happy, you've got to focus on your energy and what makes you feel really excitable and really expansive, if that makes sense. Because otherwise all these other energies will make you feel a bit sad, won't they? And they'll pull you down. But what we mean is to be happy and to get your life in order how you feel it wants to be and how it needs to be. You need to just focus on all those nice things in your life, even if you can't see them yet in your moments, what you're experiencing. What you need to do is simply imagine it in your mind, right, like a daydream, and visualize it. And the secret is to feel it at the same time as you're seeing it in your mind's eye. So you might get a really excitable feeling when you see something that you enjoy doing or you'd like to have in your life. Well, to bring it into form, I suppose in a way you call it manifestation, you have to concentrate or simply allow all of these seeing, feeling, and then you leave space for the universe to hear what your soul is sending out, the message, and then it will match that frequency. So, if you're happy a lot of the time, what we're saying is you'll bring lots of happy moments in your life. But if you pretend to be happy, you see, but underneath, inside yourself, you're a little bit fed up or a little bit sad. You see, if you're like that, you've got mixed signals because you're not being true. You're not being true. So when you're feeling a bit sad inside, but you're pretending to be happy on the outside, you're going to get mixed signals. So you've got to do some healing work on yourself, and you've got to find out why you feel a little bit, shall we say, sad on your inside, on your emotions. and you have to go through them. You can't ignore them. You got to go through them, and then that will clear that energy. So then you feel happy inside, and then that will match your outside frequency. And when you're in that, I think you call it alignment, then it's just a case of handing it over, that energy, to the universe. And the universe will bring some beautiful things in once you're ready. Well, we mean ready, willing and able to experience all those things. Because you'll notice, particularly now, more so than ever that's happened, and the point of this recording is in July of 2022. So in particular now is an opportune moment for you all to do that clearing work so that you match your outside vibrations with your inside vibrations and your thoughts and your feelings. It's a perfect time to do that, because when you've got all of that sorted, this month in particular, you'll be amazed that it'll happen really fast for you. You'll start to manifest all those things that you've always wanted into your now frequency, your now form. But you've got to do the work to make that happen. Now, a lot of people don't like that word, do they? Work. We're being silly now, aren't we? No, what we mean is you've got to invest some time into yourself and stop saying to yourself, no, I can't do that now. I haven't got time. Oh no, I'll never be able to do that. We don't want you to say that anymore. We want to say, yes, please, I'm having that. I'm going to do that. I feel that. And it will be. It will simply be. You just got to change the way that you experience your life rather than kind of watching it pass by, if that makes sense. Because a lot of you do that and you don't realise what magic you have already got inside yourself and who you are. You are, can I remind you all, you are a piece of the oneness, which is the God source or the great oneness. You are part of it. You are it. And so do you think that great oneness, that essence, that source that is in everything and everyone, even if it's alive or whether it's moving or inanimate or animate, whatever it is, it's all got a piece of the source in it for it to exist. So do you think the great creator of everything, the energy in everything, would say, no, you're not having that, but you can have that, you over there can, and you can't? Of course not. No, the great creator, the oneness, the energy, wants the best for everything in creation, because he wants to expand, he wants to grow, and he wants to learn, and he wants to keep giving and expanding and showing that explorational energy of love in everything, because that is the secret. It binds everything together. Now, when we say the word love, we're not necessarily referring to kissy coos and huggy time and romantic time, if that makes sense. We're referring to that invisible force, shall we say, that holds the entire worlds and universes together. It's something that is so difficult for any of us to describe into words for you to completely understand how important it is and what it is. It's the key. It's the key that unlocks the doors to everything. That's what love means. And so we want you to know that you are love, and you give love and you receive it. Some of you find it difficult to receive due to the conditioning that you've experienced in your life and the choices that you've either made with your conscious mind or your subconscious mind. And we don't judge you for that. We just simply say that it is a choice that you are making, whether you realize it or not. But when you become more in alignment, you realize that you need to make different choices. And you feel that. You feel you gotta make different choices. And it brings you joy in your soul, and it makes you feel alive again. It makes you feel expanded and like things are moving quickly and in a lovely direction for you. But when you're feeling a little bit low and you're not accepting that love, that universal love, and knowing that you are universal love and it is you, then you feel like roadblocks stopping you from your flow in your life, and things are moving smoothly as what you like them to. So it is a great, great thing that we share with you today. The importance of your moments, particularly now in July of 2022, is to know that you are love, you are loved, you give love, and you receive love. And when you realize all of that, you'll be living your bliss in your environment. Things will look different to you. Like, you become more grateful for the littlest of things. Like, I'll give you an example. You know, every day, right? If you lived on your own, and every day at dinner time you thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a sandwich, and I'm going to have, say peanut butter on my sandwich, and I make every day at dinner time, and I eat it. It's something that I do every day. And then one day somebody comes in and says, what would you like for your dinner? And you say, oh, I always have a peanut butter sandwich. And they say, sit down, you're all right, I'll make it for you. And then they make you that peanut butter sandwich that you've been making for all that time on your own. And then when you come to eat it, it tastes better. It tastes better than the one that you've been making for yourself all along. Yet they're using the same ingredients. Well, why does it taste better? It's because they're putting their energy into it, their energy of love and kindness, and they're giving to you. They're giving you that healing, that energy, and you're simply allowing them to do that. So you're in a flow state by allowing them. You see what we're saying? It's like the element of balance in your life is getting corrected. And so it will taste better. It will taste fresher, sweeter, and more enjoyable to you. And you'll be more grateful as well when they present you this peanut butter sandwich. So, do you understand what we mean by giving you this little example? It's just to sort of illustrate to you that a lot of you that are light workers, you love to give. You do it without thinking, and we absolutely love that and applaud you for that. But some of you don't like getting things back because you feel it's wrong. And we say to you, it's not wrong. What is so wrong about being in balance, about giving and receiving? There's nothing wrong in that. You'll feel gratitude, you'll feel perfect bliss, you'll feel happy. And when you come to terms with accepting gifts, and even if it's somebody's time and attention, then that is for the greater good. That causes expansion and awareness, not only in you, but in the universe. And your world will light up accordingly when you simply align with that giving and receiving of energy. So what we would suggest is when you can, just be honest with yourself and say, well, am I a giver? Am I a receiver? Am I open to both? And you already know. You already know. And so you know what work you've got to do. And one of the greatest things that you might experience is, for example, if you're a giver and you're always giving things all the time, including your energy and your time, and then somebody, even if you don't necessarily need that gift of time or indeed an object that somebody's gifting you, it is your responsibility to say, oh, thank you very much, that's very kind, and accept it, because that way, you see, you are then balancing that giving and receiving energy.
As ever, fascinating communication from the world of spirit, and very apt as well. And I'm sure we can all embody and take a lot from that information. But now we're going to move on to a sneaky peek into this week's energy forecast reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the information as it flows through. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I am a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday, the 2nd of March 2026. Now, those of you that watched me work before will also know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers and consult the wisdom of the Angel Tarot card. So what I'm about to do is just shuffle the cards and allow a card to come out for this week's forecast reading. Okay, so here is your card for this week's reading. I'm now going to link into the vibration of it. First of all, I'm being told very strongly the wait is over. And what I mean by this week you'll start to see some of your manifestations, some of your desires, and things in your life actually starting to come to fruition. And it will be a blessing in disguise, and there will be this sense of relief as things start to get rolling in your life. It has felt for quite some time now that you've been placed on pause. However, this week you'll start to notice that momentum progressing. I also want to say look after your physical health this week, as there will be a pocket in time around Wednesday of this week where you do feel a little bit low ebb and need to revitalize and reboost your energy. So do take that time back in order to do that, whether that's just time out. Maybe this is saying no to people and just simply focusing on yourself in order to sustain your vibration. This week we'll also see you. This is the end of the free version of the weekly forecast reading. If you would like to see the entirety of this week's forecast reading, then you can do that by subscribing. And as a subscriber, what you will receive is the full version of the weekly forecast reading. You will also receive the audio for the weekly radio show, and also you'll receive 10% off all of my spiritual services there. So this includes all of the readings there for you to benefit from. And also you will receive new updates and information and news of what's happening with myself and the services that I provide, and also the events that I take part in. You'll hear all about that ahead of everybody else. And this is because you're a subscriber to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So you can find a link either above or below this video, where by clicking on the link, you can then become a subscriber to reap all of the benefits that I've described to you. So I look forward to having you on this journey with me as a Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium subscriber. Thank you for taking time to watch this video and supporting the work that Spirit and myself work together in doing so. Well, it sounds like we're in for a captivating week ahead. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in for another action-packed show again this week. I hope you found the information from Spirit and the channeled information very inspirational, helpful, and guiding for you. If you have any questions that you would like to pose to the show, please contact me at www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glennboddice@live.co.uk. Anyway, join me next Monday, same place, same time, with From Beyond with Glenn Boddice. Have a blessed week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium